Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan, and in our top stories in this edition of the news, a senior Human Rights Watch official has accused the government and separatist fighters of lack of genuine will to bring to an end the socio-political and security crisis that has been hitting the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon for close to 3 years today. And these, among other issues, are contained in a report of the Human Rights Organization, the latest published. And of course, we'll also talk about Botswana that has decided to decriminalize homosexuality. And of course, this is following a High Court decision described as a landmark decision welcomed by gay activists. A senior Human Rights Watch official has accused the Cameroon government and pro-independence fighters of lack of genuine will to resolve the crisis that has been hitting the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon for close to 3 years today. And she cries that people continue to suffer rights, human rights are being violated, many are killed, hundreds of thousands are displaced, villages are burnt down. And of course, this is contained in the last report issued by that human rights organization. For me, Armstrong Sander has more. We'll be coming back to this report in a short while. In the meantime, the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, continues pressing for the Anglophone crisis to be put on the table as a matter of urgency in the ongoing June session of Parliament. And the session opened yesterday. The members of Parliament and senators of the SDF political party were instructed by the hierarchy of the party to press or to push for the Anglophone crisis to be discussed in Parliament. They have been doing so for close to 3 years today, to no avail. Details in this report.
Nightfall that members of the National Executive Committee, NEC of the Social Democratic Front, SDF party separated after a 2-day conclave in Yaoundé, ending on the eve of the June session of Parliament. NEC instructed its members of Parliament to push for the Anglophone crisis to be inscribed on the agenda of the lower and upper houses of Parliament. This, they hope, will lead to a creation of a commission of inquiry at both levels in order to see a solution to the Anglophone crisis. With regards to dialogue, as echoed by the Prime Minister in Bamenda, NEC members qualify it as a Machiavellian political philosophy.
This Machiavellic government knows that people want to hear about dialogue, inclusive dialogue, forgetting of the past and the like. So they send the Prime Minister to go to the field and parrot out that when they don't believe in it. They don't believe in it. The fact I don't believe in it is that the very time that the Prime Minister is talking about the Papa Biya sending me to say that he's open to discuss everything except separation or secession, the Minister of Territorial Administration is giving interviews saying that the form of the state is not going to be discussed. The Minister of External Relations convenes all the diplomats accredited to Yaoundé and is telling them that dialogue is a process, not an event.
They maintain blame on the government of Cameroon for the escalation of the Anglophone crisis.
They send people to go to the field and talk to themselves. The people that the government was sending out to the field was to talk to their militants. And the arrogance of it all is what brought about the problems. The ministers who went to the field they thought that they were talking to numbskulls.
Concerning the mandates of members of parliament and municipal councillors, NEC members demanded for an extension, basing their arguments on the deepening insecurity in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
How can you organize elections in a situation where you cannot go politically? How can you organize elections when for the past 3 years, nobody, the ELECAM has been unable to go to the field to register people? Effectively, the curfew is dusk to dawn. So a politician like me will normally politic in the evening, because during the day people go to doing their various activities. In the evening you sit with people, you try to talk, you do your politicking and the like. Now, in the northwest region, you can't. We are under a curfew.
The National Executive Committee of the Social Democratic Front, as the party, also condemned the repression on public manifestations of the opposition in Cameroon and also called for the release of all those they qualify as political prisoners, which they believe will pave a way for a national dialogue. Within the two-day NEC meeting, members also demanded compensation for students who miss out on the written part of some official examinations as a result of the confusing days for the celebration of the feast of Ramadan. The Sonara fire incident and other major issues of national interest were also discussed by NEC members during their two-day conclave in Yaoundé.
Now we come back to the recent statement made by a senior official of Human Rights Watch, in which she accuses the government of the Republic of Cameroon and separatist fighters of lack of genuine will to resolve the Anglophone crisis. For me, I'm Stone Sander.
According to Ilaria Allegrosi, senior Central African researcher at Human Rights Watch, the position of the government of Cameroon on dialogue is an almost complete denial, and there is total impunity for the violence committed in these English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Speaking on Friday, June the 7th, 2019 in Paris, France, the senior Human Rights Watch declared that prospects for talks between the authorities of the Republic of Cameroon and separatist movements to end the escalating violence in the Anglophone regions of the country are slim, dismissing assertions by both sides to be open to dialogue. Ilaria Allegrosi stated that abuses committed on the people of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon are coming from both sides, and civilians are finding themselves in the middle. According to her, separatists were not in denial of the scale of the crisis, but of human rights abuses by their fighters. Allegrosi, who was refused entry into Cameroon in May over her research, said division among armed separatist groups could be an obstacle to form a platform to negotiate, which she says is an element that the government is using to its advantage. She cited an international crisis group report scaling the number of separatist fighters. The crisis, the senior human rights researcher indicated, has tended to slip beneath the international radar, giving President Paul Biya's close cooperation with the Western states in the fight against Islamic militants, Boko Haram.
For me, Armstrong Sander reporting there. Now we talk about pupils who have been were sitting in for the first school leaving certificate. That is the SEP examination in the French subsystem of education. Today they were in their thousands, about 300,000 of them who sat for that examination across the National Triangle today. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
A total of 300,000 pupils registered for the Certificat d'études primaires and 69,000 for the first co-living certificate. In École d'application d'Aqua, an accommodating center, 311 pupils answered present with their first paper being French language. The content of the paper dwelled on drug consumption by youths. Some of the youths explained to us how they tackled the question on the negative effects of drug consumption on the human system. I advised my classmates not to consume drugs because it is very harmful to our health and can equally result to mental disorder. When I just arrived at our classroom, I was so scared, but after a while, I got rid of it. I wrote the exams with a lot of confidence. They are striving to move to a next level of the academic ladder.
And the Consul General of France in Douala has praised the cooperation ties existing between Cameroon and his country, notably in the health domain. He was speaking after visiting the Douala Gynecopediatric and the Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital. And of course, Innocent has the finest details in the upcoming report.
The Yassa Gyneco-Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital in Douala has just received a visitor, the French consul in Douala, Cameroon, who went to see fruits of the good cooperation ties existing between France and Cameroon.
C'est un échange très fructueux.
It was a rich exchange on the cooperation between both countries.
De personnels médicaux viennent ici. Il y a eu
Many medics and interns visit the hospital for discovery.
Donc découvrir un peu les problématiques propres au Cameroun.
Apart from meeting a motivated team accompanied by its Director General for proper care of patients, the French consul in Douala records that all is fine and permits continuous experience and information sharing between both institutions. In return, the Director General of the Yassa Gyneco-Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital and his collaborators honored the visits of the French consul.
C'est la première fois que nous recevons un invité de...
Each time we receive such a hierarchy, we are happy he comes to see what we do here. And in all, we are in several cooperation ties.
française avec Bordeaux Métropole.
Just like other happy encounters, both personalities separated on a sharing note and exchange of presents.
Out of Cameroon, Botswana's High Court has ruled in favor of decriminalizing homosexuality in a landmark decision for campaigners, and the court rejected laws that impose up to 7 years in prison for same-sex relationships, stating that they were unconstitutional. After 3 judges came to the decision unanimously, Judge Michel Michael L. Buru delivered the verdict, and he said human dignity is harmed when minority groups are marginalized. He labeled laws banning gay sex as discriminatory and said sexual orientation is not a fashion statement, and the law has been in place since 1965 when it was brought in by the colonial British government, and the case was brought to court by a student who argued that society had changed and homosexuality was more widely accepted. Activists welcomed the decision and described it as a significant step for gay rights on the African continent. The decision of Botswana's High Court is in sharp contrast to Kenya's recent ruling against campaigners seeking to overturn laws on gay sex. Angola, Mozambique, and Seychelles have already scrapped anti-homosexuality laws in recent years. And now in sports, the indomitable Lionesses have moved out of Montpellier in France to Valenciennes to prepare for their Day 2 group match at the ongoing FIFA Women's World Cup. Meanwhile, the indomitable Lions have arrived in Doha, that is in Qatar, for the second phase of their training session ahead of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations built for Egypt's Manjikan Gabriel has more.
Notwithstanding the slim 1-0 loss to Canada in their first group match at the FIFA Women's World Cup, fans were still present to encourage the indomitable Lionesses as they leave the Montpellier pitch. Early Tuesday morning, as the team of Alain Jemfa traveled to Valenciennes, the atmosphere was one of going ahead and leaving the defeat of Monday night behind. The Lionesses will stay at the Royal Hanot Hotel in Valenciennes as they prepare for their second group match against the Netherlands on June 15, 2019. Elsewhere, the senior men's team has arrived in Doha, Qatar, where they are expected to continue preparing for the 2019 African Cup of Nations. The boys of Coach Clarence Seedorf are complete after the arrival of Christian Basogok, who was held behind by club activities when the team was in Spain. He joined his teammate in Doha this Tuesday. Before arriving at Doha, goals from Joel Tagui, Steve Mvue, Eric Maxim Chupumuting, Nje Clinton, and a brace from Stefan Baokeng and Carl Toko Ekambi. A hat-trick from Jacques Zua enabled the Lions to humiliate Segunda Divisione side Alcorcon 11-0 in their final warm-up game at the Real Madrid Training Center in Spain. While in Doha, the Lions will be at the 5-star Al Azizia Hotel. It will be in Doha that the final list of 23 players that will be representing Cameroon in Egypt will be made official by head coach Clarence Seedorf.
The training session of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon in Doha is currently going on as we speak, and this is where we're going to draw the curtain on the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Point. We are receiving a legal mind, Barrister Tamfu Richard, member of the Cameroon Bar Association and, of course, the Nigerian Bar. You're welcome, Barrister.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan Babila.
You're a legal mind, and I want us to start from out of the country in Botswana, where the High Court has decided to decriminalize homosexuality. What do you think about this?
Well, my position will virtually differ with that of Botswana, because I hail from a Christian home, though some people will say I'm not encouraging the evolution of society. To me, I'm not for gay marriages. I'm completely against that, so I won't have the same view with what the judges of Botswana. Well, it's the choice of their society. If they have decided to embrace such practices, but me personally, I don't stick to it.
The judges said that criminalizing homosexuality is against human dignity and so on.
Yes, for maybe according to their constitution or their laws, if they had to criminalize homosexuality, maybe it will have some great impacts on the activities of their society. Maybe they are comfortable in homosexuality engagements there. So the judges think that maybe criminalizing it will not bring any involvement to the humanitarian society there. So, but to me, I don't really appreciate such practices. So,
all right, it should be noted that in Cameroon it's a crime.
Yes, in Cameroon it's not
punishable by the law.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's talk about the Anglophone crisis with the last statement issued by a senior official of Human Rights Watch, and she's accusing both the government and the separatists or the pro-independence fighters of lack of genuine will to solve this problem. Do you think that the problem has continued for close to 3 years today because of this particular aspect of lack of will, lack of political will?
Mr. Babila, I agree in total with Human Rights Watch report. We should be courageous to tell this government the truth. That's the only thing that can save Cameroon, truth. We see a government who is not willing to solve the Anglophone problem. We only use some cosmetic measures. Of recent, we saw the Prime Minister going to preach out a way for dialogue. Putting it in a very simple term, how can you go and meet maybe the parents of a family whose children are held in detention? Which kind of peace are you trying to plead with them? or you go and meet the children trying to preach peace to them when their parents are in detention. To me, I think the government has actually had no will to solve this problem. If there was that will to solve this problem, the Anglophone problem can be solved in 10 days. If the government is ready to give a listening ear to all the parties. And I really decry the situations of civilians because we are caught up into an ambush where you have a government and you have armed groups who are fighting and committing gross human rights violations. We saw how houses were being burnt. We saw extrajudicial killings. Children, babies are being killed. Of recent, it was the Sonara. We are losing a lot, even economically. All this for something that, if truth was spoken to the government, will find a solution. So to me, I keep on saying that no matter what is being said, the only person who is responsible for all this is the head of state.
Yes, and I read in the newspaper some intellectuals, including Professor Willibrod Zingo of the University of Yaoundé 1, and even Akere Muna, saying that the President of the Republic, the government, they have no genuine will, just as it's been highlighted by an official of Human Rights Watch. But over the years, for the close to 3 years that the crisis has been worsening, a series of actions, a series of measures have been taken by government. Are we saying that these measures have been inappropriate? These measures have not been the right things they should have done?
That's why I said the measures were cosmetics. The Anglophone problem is more deeper than that, and they themselves they know where the truth is. When you say people, you are inviting people, or that we are in the process of opening dialogue, and you start by saying that okay, this one should not be on the topic. When this crisis just started, when Ayok Tabe was arrested, you see that Ayok Tabe really had a good mobilization that through him, the government could use him to solve the Anglophone problem. Don't be surprised that today, even Ayok cannot even have something to tell with respect to the Anglophone crisis. You are much aware that many groups have developed, even when the government is saying that we want to dialogue. I really wonder if the government actually is able to identify at this present moment who are the people to dialogue with. So we keep on singing.
And the consortium that was created, and they had some discussions with some authorities.
What happened to them?
Dissolved.
What happened to them? They were arrested. Do you think that they still have any say with respect to the Anglophone crisis? So even the Anglophone, they themselves have lost. They don't still believe in what they used to call elites, people who could carry the voices of the Anglophones. So to me, I think that if this government was really genuine into entering into dialogue, I think it would have been very fast. Release all those who you think they were arrested with respect to this Anglophone crisis. If they are out, give them some time to be able to bring credible people to you, so that you can open up the dialogue. And don't say a taboo, don't say a subject should not be brought, or this. Maybe through the negotiation or through the discussion, you'll be able to convince and say, okay, maybe this is the best form, or this is what we should go in, and they deliberately agree on, and then we'll move forward. By the way this government is moving forward with this crisis, I'm afraid that Rwanda will be better, because of recent I watched some videos in Womb where a community is already rising against another community.
The Bororos against the indigenes.
Good. Don't be surprised with what will generate tomorrow. We have lost unnecessary lives for nothing. The military are going, civilians are going, people are refugees, people are living in deplorable conditions. Some images that you even see, some people don't even have any shelter, no food. So tell me, which kind of peace or dialogue are we saying that we are preaching?
And the imam, the grand imam of the littoral region, Ibrahim Mbombo Mubarak, during his statement to the press on the occasion of the Feast of Ramadan, also highlighted another angle that could possibly be provoked by the ongoing crisis, that is a religious angle of the crisis. That he said that religion was going to be used very soon, if nothing is done, to generate a religious conflict
at this point in time, you don't really know what can happen to Cameroon tomorrow. I really appreciated the moves that were taken by religious leaders where they wanted, that was tried like about to be convened by Cardinal Tomi. I thought that maybe the government would say, okay, yes, now that the religious leaders have decided to come together, which was not only something about the Catholics, the Christian Catholics. It talked about all religious leaders from all walks of religion. So I thought that maybe the government would give the opportunity for that, maybe what they call it, the All Anglophone Conference to even hold. And maybe from there we could have some fruitful talks so that this crisis could come to an end. But till today, there was no possibility for it to hold. So
the organizers are indicating that they are preparing, they are putting some things together, and anytime soon they are going to announce the exact date of the
yes,
holding.
We continue to push the dialogue further, continue to push. Today, this is the crisis that is already enduring for more than 3 years. Let's us continue to be pushing and providing cosmetic solutions. It will lead us to where it's going to lead us, and it is not my own personal thing. All of us are going to suffer it. So if the government thinks that she's doing harm to us, it's regrettable. Today they are in a very repressive state where public liberties are being fragilized. You cannot exercise, if you have a dissenting view with the people, the ruling party, is a problem. When the oppositions go to exercise their public liberties, you arrest them. It started like that with the Anglophones. Very soon, maybe you will radicalize them also, and I will say, okay, maybe their peaceful ways of like trying to make heard their voice is not forth moving. They may resort to other things.
No, but what is difficult to understand is what can possibly explain the fact that there have been calls from within and without. Civil society leaders, political leaders, institutions like Human Rights Watch, even the United Nations through the Security Council, even the United States through Thibault Nash, the Under-Secretary of State for African Affairs, and other organizations have been talking, calling for inclusive dialogue, calling for demilitarization of the 2 Anglophone regions of the country, calling for a release of those who have been detained, general amnesty and so on. But all of these seem to be falling on deaf ears.
The truth is that Cameroon or Cameroonians have been taken hostage by some few individuals who think that they will continue to suppress Cameroonians, maybe for personal gains or whatsoever. All of us know that the head of state is tired. He has given all he could give to Cameroonians. And the very few who were benefiting from his being in power are doing everything possible that it should not change hands, inflicting unnecessary hardship, depriving human rights, depriving some liberties to Cameroonians, thinking that by doing that, it will maintain them on power. So to me, I really pity their position, because if it happens today that the head of state has to leave, they will start to fight among themselves. And when he will start, it's going to generate what is going to generate. So we are taken hostage by these very few people, and they know themselves. So I think it's better that if the head of state was still very strong, he would have been seeing all this. But he's tired, and that's why you see it's been managed by these very few people who think that through repressive methods they are able to maintain their positions and continue to govern.
All right, Barrister Tamfu Richard, member of the Cameroon Bar Association and the Nigerian Bar as well. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Babu.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us.